This conference will now be recorded.
So far we were talking about different points related to SAP FICO configuration, business requirement. Now let us try to understand certain basic points related to accounting from SAP point of view. Now let me talk about account types. We may be using the similar terminology but with a different context, with a different scenarios, with a different situations. Now here when I talk about account types, I do not mean asset, liability, income and then expense. Here I mean something else. Okay, so what I will put in general when I talk about account type, let me write something called GL accounts. Next thing I will write customer accounts. Next thing I will write vendor accounts. And next one, fixed asset accounts. When you're talking about account type, we are talking about the nature of account. According to SAP, when you're talking about any account, so SAP will recognize the account only when you represent what is the type of account. According to SAP, when you talk about FI point of view or FICO point of view, it is categorized into four types: GL, customer, vendor, and then asset. Let me show a screen on SAP. Now down below you will find something called account. Can you see a field called account here?
Yes, sir.
You find a field called account. This account is what I am representing here. This what? The account that we are representing here. According to SAP, whenever you want to record any journal entry or whenever you want to record any transaction posting, system wants you to input the account number. In short, the nature of account, whether you're talking about GL account, customer account, vendor account or fixed asset account. Since we know manual accounting, it is easy for us to identify and then understand whether a particular account belongs to GL, customer, vendor or fixed asset. But SAP cannot identify an asset based on the account number. SAP is always dependent on account type based on something called the posting key. But what is posting key? Before we understand that, first we need to have a clear understanding about what is account. Now these accounts are used for writing your journal entries. Whenever you write journal entries, in your journal entry you are going to have two attributes. One is debit, the other one is credit. Correct? When you talk about any journal entry, you have to mention whether you are debiting the account or you are crediting the account. How you are going to segregate in your manual accounting whether something is debit or credit? Point number one, you write something called DR or you put something called CR. Correct? If it is debit, we
Yes.
normally mention DR. If it is credit, we normally mention CR. Are you going to change DR CR indicator for GL, customer, vendor, asset, or it is the same in your manual accounting?
It is the same.
In your manual accounting, for every kind of account, you are going to use DR CR only. But when it comes to SAP, you are not going to segregate, you are not going to identify account by DR CR. The moment you step into SAP, concept of DR CR is eliminated. In place of debit credit, you are going to have something called posting key. The way you are identifying whether the account is debit or credit by DRCR, this DR and this CR is classified by posting key. Posting key is a 2-digit numeric code. This 2-digit numeric code is going to identify whether a particular account is debit or credit and the nature of account. Nature of account and debit or credit is identified by 2-digit numeric code called as posting key. Now, first thing, before we proceed further, first we need to understand the classification of these four accounts, identification of these four accounts. Let's say, let me write some names. Let me write here. If I put something called rent, when I write something called rent, what is this rent? What is this from these four categories?
GL.
Rent is a GL account. If I put laptop, what is this?
Asset. Yeah, assets.
Rent is a GL account, laptop is an asset. If I put ABC Private Limited,
Vendor accounts.
Vendor. It can be a vendor or a customer.
Okay, yeah.
it can be a vendor or it can be a customer. Similarly, if I put Mr. Let's say Mr. A. If I put Mr. A,
Same. It could be customer account or vendor account.
same. So whenever you put any name, it can be a customer or it can be a vendor. First point that we need to be very sure about, that we need to be very clear about is by looking at the name of the account. By looking at the name of the account, make sure you are able to understand or you are able to classify whether this account is GL, customer, vendor or fixed asset. Okay, you are able to understand whether a particular account is customer, vendor, GL or fixed asset. If we are not able to identify or the differentiate between this, it will be very difficult for us to understand further anything in accounting. Wherever you feel that you have a doubt or you have a confusion in accounting, all the areas that are associated with those accounting in your SAP FICO will also be confusing. So first we need to make sure that we are clear with basic accounting so that you are able to understand the data flow or you are able to understand the business process, financial impact. If you're not talking, you can be on mute, please, so that it will not create any noise.
So will all the P&L accounts will be GL accounts? P&L
Yes,
transactions?
correct. I'll mention that now. I'll explain on what basis we understand GL, customer, vendor, and fixed asset. Okay, now what I will write, I'll write something here. Let me take this a little right side. In general, if you talk about what is exactly the GL account, what is exactly the customer account, vendor account, and fixed asset account, first thing that you need to understand here is you should always go by elimination process. When I say you should always go by elimination process, wherever you have more number of entries, don't touch that first. Okay, wherever you have more number of entries, we should not touch it. Wherever you have less number of entries or wherever it is simply identified, first you need to go by that, so that whatever is left over, it is easy to understand. All the leftover accounts will belong to one particular category. In general, if I talk about customer, normally who can be your customer? There are only two possibilities that you can have a customer. Who are those two? I would say
The person who's like who
person
the company
or
who's
organization, correct? In short, any name of a person or any name of an organization, I can call it as a customer. Any possibility that apart from a human being or apart from a person, apart from an organization, can we have anybody else as a customer? Any possibility? Either you are going to sell to a customer who is a person, or you are going to sell to a customer who is an organization or who is a company. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Right. So in short, when you're talking about a customer, you are going to classify the moment you look at any person name or any organization name. So something should immediately strike your mind. This can be a customer. What about vendor? Is it the same or anything different?
Yes, sir.
Same.
For vendor also it is the same. You are going to classify or you are going to identify customer and vendor based on the same logic. That is your name of a person or name of an organization or a company. The moment you look at name of a company, the moment you look at those who are not talking, please be on mute. Okay, if you're talking, you can unmute, but immediately put yourself on mute. Okay, the moment you look at any name of a person, the moment you look at any name of an organization or a company, you need to immediately understand this can be a customer or this can be a vendor. First thing that you should differentiate between these four account types: GL, customer, vendor, fixed asset. The moment you identify it can be a customer or it can be a vendor, further it is very easy. You need to see whether you are purchasing or you are selling. You need to see whether you are purchasing or you are selling. If you are purchasing, you call it as a vendor. If you are selling, you call it as a customer. Correct?
Yes.
If you are purchasing, you are calling it as a vendor. If you are selling, you are calling it as a customer. Similarly, what about your fixed asset? So you are
Will be
going to
tangible.
classify or you are going to identify something as a fixed asset the moment you look at accounts called land, building, something like furniture, motor vehicles, what else? Computers, softwares,
Patents, copyrights.
right? So these kind of categories are usually called as fixed assets. Correct? Now, is it easy to identify what is fixed asset?
Yes.
Correct? It's easy to identify what is a fixed asset. Similarly, anything which is not name of a person, anything which is not a name of an organization, anything which is not part of this category, which is not a land, not building, furniture, motor vehicle, computer, software, and licenses, etc. Everything is called as your GL account. Because GL is a huge list. You cannot say that only these kind of things are GL account. GL account can have n number of examples. If you talk about asset, liability, income, expense, you can keep writing a big list under GL accounts. So it is always easy for us to eliminate your customer account, vendor account, fixed asset. Try to look at the account name, understand whether it is customer, vendor, or a fixed asset. If it is anything between these three categories, mark it as either customer, vendor, or fixed asset. If it is not from these three categories, straight away it is related to GL account. Straight away it is related to GL account. Let me move this a little right side. Okay, I'll put this here only. So
No current asset.
yes, apart from customer, vendor, fixed asset. Correct? GL account is anything which is apart from customer, vendor, fixed asset. Is it clear now?
Yes, sir.
Customer, vendor, you can easily identify name of a person, name of an organization. Fixed asset, you have fixed classification of assets: land, building, furniture, motor vehicle, computers, software, licenses, etc. Apart from these three categories, whatever you come across, straight away blindly you can mark it as GL account. Now, in your accounting, in your accounts, again you have two more classifications. One, I will call it as main ledger. If I'm calling it as main ledger, what will be the other ledger?
Subledger.
If I call it as main ledger, the other one I call it as subledger. These four categories will have to be classified according to main ledger, subledger. If you're talking about main ledger, what is main ledger?
GL.
GL is main ledger. What are the subledgers?
Customer, vendor, and fixed assets.
Customer, vendor, fixed assets.
Customer, vendor, and then fixed assets. Customer, vendor, fixed assets, these are classified as a subledger. Okay. Now,
Ajay,
when you are
sorry,
able
one
to
question.
identify what is main ledger, what is a subledger, and when you're able to identify what is GL account, what is customer, vendor, fixed asset account, the way that you are going to do accounting in SAP is more easy, and you will not find anywhere that accounting is difficult, accounting is tricky, tough in SAP. If you are clear with these kind of basic elements, you are going to find accounting is very simple in SAP, because in SAP it is furthermore simplified from accounting point of view, provided you know the basic fundamentals, basic logics from the basic accounting point of view. Next thing, I am going to write debit and credits. When I am going to write debit and credit, first I will put GL, next I will put customer, next I will put vendor, next I will put assets. Whenever we write about asset, always remember we are representing fixed assets. Whenever we talk about asset, we are representing fixed asset. I'll put account here. Next, I will put debit. I will put credit. Now, these debit and credit are called as posting keys. Your debit and credit is part of posting keys in SAP. So, what is your posting key for debit? What is your posting key for credit?
40 and 50.
Correct. Let me put only these two columns. If you want to debit GL account, you need to put a posting key called 40. If you want to credit a GL account,
50.
want to put a credit to the
It's
GL
50.
account, you'll have to put 50. Just a sec. So 40 represents GL account debit in SAP, 50 represents GL account credit in SAP. Correct? If I put 50, I am talking about GL account credit. What about customer?
01 for
150.
debit, 01 for debit,
01 and then 11.
11.
Similarly, for vendor, it will be
25.
21, 31.
Is it
For fixed assets,
25,
it will be 70, 75. Now, these are the standard posting keys that we will be using in SAP to debit and credit a particular account type. These are the standard posting keys that you are going to use to debit and credit a particular account type. In general, if you look at this, these are the standard posting keys that you are going to use. If I put them in a particular table, next thing what I will write here, I'll put something else. Now here we are mentioning only two posting keys, one for debit, one for credit. These are most commonly used posting keys in SAP for a respective account type. But you have different other posting keys which can be used to represent a debit, to represent a credit for the same account type. In general, if you talk about GL, you are going to have only two things for GL. You are going to have only two things for GL, which is always fixed, 40 for debit, 50 for credit. When it comes to customer, you have 01 for debit, you have 11 for credit. If you look at this posting key list, I'll open the drop down for the posting key. Okay, this is the posting key list in SAP. Here, if you observe carefully, this is your debit credit indicator. This is your account type. This is your account type. What I am going to do, I am going to filter based on the account type. In short, I am going to sort it based on the account type. Account type is nothing but customer vendor GL account, and fixed asset. Let me sort by account type. First thing that I got is A. A represents what?
Fixed assets.
A represents fixed asset. Now you have another field here which is talking about D/C. D means debit, C means credit. D represents debit, C represents credit. If you look at the first record 75, A represents asset, C represents credit. In short, the posting key description is also credit asset. For posting key 70, A represents asset, D represents debit. In short, asset debit is posting key 70, asset credit is posting key 75. Next one, if you look at, this is your posting key C. Sorry, this is your account type C. Account type C represents what?
Customer.
C represents customer. C followed by D/C. What is this C here?
Credit.
Credit. In short, these are all your customer credits. Till here you have customer credits. Do we have a single credit or there are multiple credits?
Multiple credits.
If you look at the first digit of the credit, what is the first digit? What is the first digit in your credit? Customer credit, what is the first digit?
11.
1?
Just one.
It is 1. In short, the sequence is 11 to 19. Sequence is 11 to 19. This 1A, 1B, 1C, these are created by somebody else. If you're not talking, please be on mute. Okay, posting key starting from 11 till 19 is normally we are going to use in the real environment. The remaining one, 1A, 1B, 1C, we normally do not use. Whenever you are using any transaction in the real environment, we will be strictly using 2-digit numeric code. If I consider only the numeric codes for the customer credit, I am going to look at from 11 to 19, correct? I am going to look at 11 to 19. I am marking it as customer credit. Similarly, for customer debit, we are going to look at additional things from 01 until 9 only. Though you have other credits which we will not be using because these are not pure numeric, these are alphanumeric. In general, we will not be using alphanumeric posting keys. Strictly, we must use 2-digit numeric posting key in SAP. The remaining one, even though they exist, we will not be using them. Strictly remember, you will be using a 2-digit pure numeric series for posting key. In short, for any customer debit, your posting key is starting from 01 until 9, correct? 0 to 9. In short, 1 to 9 is your customer debit, 11 to 19 is customer credit. Next one. After customer, you have something called GL. G represents GL. In GL, you have different things. G represents GL, C represents credit, GL credit. Next one you have GD, GL debit. Though you have so many GL debits, though you have so many GL credits, we will be using standardly 2 debit and 2 credits. One is your GL debit 40, the other one is GL credit 50. The remaining one 81 and all, you will be using it for inventory GL related postings. These things we will be understanding during the integration process. But as of now, you can still use 40-50 for any kind of a posting. If it is a GL account, it is fine even if you use 40 or even if you use 50. But there are certain postings which are coming from your integration, especially GRIR related postings, stock initial entry postings, price differences, consumptions. For these kind of things, system will take posting key as the other one. 90 series or 80 series will be taken. In short, 40 or any 90 series, sorry, 50 and 90 series, 9 series is your GL credit, 40 and 8 series is your GL debit. And next one, if you look at, you have V. M we will not be using. For material posting keys, normally we will not use it. We will be using the next one is vendor. V represents vendor, C represents credit. Similarly, V represent vendor, D represent debit. If you are talking about vendor debit, anything starting from 2 series. In short, 21 to 29 is vendor debit. Anything starting from 3 series is your vendor credit. 31 to 39 is vendor credit. 21 to 29 is vendor debit. If I close this, if I come to the Excel sheet, GL debit can be 40. What are the other things? 8 series. Is this right? Correct? 40 is the standard one. You will also have 8 series posting key, which is a GL debit. What about credit 50 and what is the other series?
9.
9.
9 series. What about customer 01 or in
1
short
series.
01 to 09? This is a fixed logic. What about customer? What is the other logic for credit?
11 to
19.
19.
11 to 19.
11 to 19. I'll put 11 to 19. Next one, vendor. Apart from 21, what is the other logic?
21 to 29.
21 to 29 is vendor debit. What is the other logic?
31 to 39.
31 to 39. Similarly, do we have anything for fixed asset? Or asset is strictly only two things, 70 and 75.
70 and
Asset does not have any other posting key. Asset contains only two posting keys, 70, 75. No other alternative posting keys for fixed asset. Whereas for your GL account, apart from 40, 50, any posting key which is starting from 8 series is represented as a GL debit. Anything which is starting from 9 series is represented as GL credit. Similarly, for your customer, 01 is the standard debit. Otherwise, anything from 01 to 09, in short, 1 to 9. 01 to 09 or 1 to 9 posting key is your customer debit. 11 is your standard customer credit, or anything from 11 to 19 is your customer credit. For vendor debit, 21 is a standard debit, or anything which is 2 series, or 21 to 29 is vendor debit. Credit is 31 or 31 to 39. These things slowly we have to remember. We should not by heart anything, just read through 1 or 2 times, ignore it. Automatically when you're posting, automatically when you're practicing, things will get memorized by default. You do not have to specifically by heart them. Okay. Now, if I have to write a accounting document, or if I have to write a simple accounting entry, let's say I will write rent debit and cash credit. In the debit side, I am going to put rent debit 100, cash credit 100. Because when you write manual accounting entry, we do not put minus sign for the credit, because you are going to put debit in one column, credit in the other column. Correct? When you write the manual accounting entry, you are going to write debit in one column, credit in the other column.
Yes.
So in general, we normally
Yes.
do not put minus symbol. But when you write the same entry from SAP point of view, I'll say this as manual entry. Next one, I'll put SAP. You're not going to write rent. In place of rent, what you're going to write? Account description or account code. In SAP, are you going to identify the account by the account name or account code?
Code.
Account code.
You're going to identify based on the account code. So I'll put, let's say, please be on mute. Once you are done with your explaining anything, please go on mute. Let's say I'll take some account number. This followed by debit. Debit means posting key.
Sir, I have a question. Sorry.
40.
Yes.
Can I ask, sir?
Go ahead.
Sir, actually in customer, vendor and fixed asset, we're going, I mean, in customer, it's accounts payable, we're going to do entry accounts payable related, for example, purchase related, right? Vendor, again, it's sales related. We're going to debit and credit as per that. And then fixed assets also, it's related to assets. What is GL? Sir, GL, what we are going to enter in GL, for example?
Anything which is not customer, anything which is not vendor, anything which is not a fixed asset. Apart from these three, whatever you mentioned, that is your GL account, which you will understand with this accounting entry that is being written now.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. If I look at the first one, we have listed rent. So according to SAP, you are not supposed to write rent. Rent is going to have an account number. SAP is going to identify the account based on the number, not based on the name. Not based on the name, it is always identified based on the number. So I have put a number here. Next thing, I need to put debit credit. In manual accounting, whether I write anything, or first I'll do something. I'll hide these things. Let me come down to avoid any kind of confusion. I'll put this here. This is entry number 1. Next one, I'll put customer debit and cash credit 100. This is another entry. Next one, cash debit, vendor credit. This is another entry. Last entry, I'll say laptop debit. I'll say cash credit. This is for 100. This is for 100. Another accounting entry that I have listed. Now, in all the accounting entries, whatever I have debited, whatever I have credited, I am able to differentiate, I am able to segregate debit credit with 2-digit code DRCR, correct? Apart from DRCR, irrespective of the name of account or nature of account, are we changing any indicator for debit credit, or we are using fixed indicators?
indicators.
We will use fixed
We are going to use fixed indicators. But when it comes to SAP, it is not the same. When it comes to SAP, you cannot represent DRCR to indicate whether it is debit or credit. Instead, you need to represent based on the account type, whether it is GL account, customer account, vendor account, fixed asset account. By looking at the accounting entry, before you write the accounting entry in SAP, first in general you must be aware of which account to be debited, which account to be credited. Assuming by looking at a particular transaction, I am able to identify this account will have to be debited to rent account and it has to be credited to the cash account. Rent, is this related to customer vendor fixed asset or GL account?
GL account.
Yeah, account.
GL account. So before I identify whether it is a GL or not, first I am going to put a logic called elimination. I am going to eliminate if it is customer vendor GL. If it is customer vendor GL, I am sticking to customer vendor GL. If it is not related to customer or not related to vendor or not related to fixed asset, I will blindly put this as GL account. Rent is not a customer account, rent is not a vendor account, rent is not a fixed asset account. So by default, this will become a GL account.
Yes, sir.
Correct? So I will write here GL. Clear? I am writing this as GL. In the second one, you have credit side on the cash account. Cash account is not customer account. Cash account is not vendor account. Cash account is not a fixed asset account. So this is also GL account. Clear?
Yeah.
Next one, when I write customer. When I write customer, you can replace the customer with any name or any person. Any name of a person or any name of any organization. If it is customer, I am going to write it as customer. If it is cash, I am going to write it as GL. Are these two clear?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
In the next entry, I am going to write cash account. Cash is GL account. I understood now. Next one is vendor. Whenever you have vendor, you can replace it with a name of a person or name of an organization. The moment I come to know if it is a name of a customer, name of a person or name of an organization, I am going to decide this can be either a customer or a vendor. In this case, we are assuming this as a vendor. In this case, we are assuming this as a vendor. In the last one, you are going to debit laptop account, credit cash account. Laptop, we know that this is a fixed asset. So I'm going to write this as fixed asset and the cash is GL account. Are this account type classification clear?
Yes, sir.
Understood how we are able to segregate whether it is GL, customer, vendor or fixed asset? The moment you look at any accounting entry, the moment you look at any debit or any credit account, whatever you are debiting GL, customer, vendor or fixed asset, make sure you are able to identify this in a proper way. So logically you should start thinking and then identify, okay, this is GL, this is customer, this is vendor, this is fixed asset. The moment you are able to identify this, you need to understand what is main ledger, what is a sub ledger. In short, by looking at one accounting entry, you need to determine certain things in your mind automatically. Now, if I know that this is a GL account, I am going to write the same entry. Let's say rent. Instead of debit, what I need to put? I'm not supposed to put DR.
50.
Instead, what I need to put?
15.
This is
Plus
GL
40.
debit.
40.
I need to put 40 and then I'll be writing the amount 100. Similarly, next one, cash. What will be the posting key?
50.
50.
It will be 50. The amount will be 100. When you're writing in SAP, debit is always a positive number. Credit is always a negative number. I need to mention minus 100. Next one, the moment I know if it is a customer, I am going to put customer here. If it is a debit, which code I need to use for customer debit?
21.
01,
01.
I'll put the amount. If it is the GL credit, I am going to put same thing, cash 50, and then amount is minus 100. Here also same thing. If it is cash, I am going to write cash. This is debit, so GL debit will be 40. Amount is positive number 100. For vendor, it will be vendor. Vendor credit is what?
31.
Vendor credit is 31. Amount will be negative 100. Similarly, for fixed asset, it will be
70.
70.
laptop. I'll put 70, 100. Cash account, I am going to write credit. This one. Correct? Is this how we are able to write the accounting from SAP? So you're
Yes,
not telling system DRCR, you're going to tell the system whether it is a debit credit based on the 2-digit posting key identification. Now, next one. Any doubt on this part?
I have a small doubt, Ajay. So, my first question is, what is the exact definition of GL account? So, because of we can define customers, vendors, and fixed asset. So, what is the exact definition of GL? And one more thing, why these many posting keys bring it to SAP? What is the purpose and what is the use of these many posting keys? And we have some debit credit indicators also, right? S and H. So what is that also?
Okay. Now the questions that you have asked is very easy to understand once we are on the posting side of the SAP. Once we are doing the postings, that is where you can easily figure out why these entries are posted, why we are using so many posting keys, why we are not using S and H. So since we are now talking theoretically about it, even if I explain them, it will lead to unnecessary confusion. But in other words, in simple words, if I have to answer your question, let me open the SAP. If I open the SAP, if you look at only the highlighted ones, look at only the highlighted ones, whatever I'm highlighting with this. Everything it is VC, which means everything is what? Vendor credit.
Yeah.
Whatever I have highlighted is everything is vendor credit. But if you look at the posting key description, every credit is having a separate description for it. 31, if you're talking about, if you're posting a credit in the vendor account for any invoice, for any purchase, you are going to use posting key 31. If you are reversing any credit memo, you are going to use 32. If you are creating any payable, if you are creating any liability in the vendor account but not by way of invoice, then you are going to use other payables. Sometimes you may be receiving incoming payment from vendor. Sometimes you may be receiving incoming payment from vendor. If you are receiving any payment from vendor, you are liable to pay back to the vendor. Correct?
Yeah.
So it will be 35. If you are posting any payment differences, let's say you are posting an entry into the vendor account, but there is a mismatch in the debit and credit. This mismatch is resulting a credit balance in vendor account. That you can route it through 36. If you are making any clearing entry, you can use 35, 37. Any payment clearing is 38. Any advance related transactions 39. But in general, whenever you are posting any transactions, there are certain transactions wherein you will be giving the posting key manually. There are certain transactions wherein your vendor account is extracted automatically by the system. You have something called automatic account determination. So there is a term called automatic account determination. Based on the automatic account determination, whenever you are giving one debit, one credit, the moment you simulate or the moment you post, you get additional line items automatically added. Correct?
Yeah.
So when your automatic account determination is coming into picture, system is going to pull or system is going to bring the posting key automatically based on the backend configuration or backend mapping. So that is where you are going to look at the other posting keys like 32, 34, 36, 37, 39 likewise. But otherwise, wherever you are posting any accounting entry manually in the vendor account, blindly we will be using 2131, because at the end of the day you are going to concern about whether there is a debit impact on my vendor account or credit impact on my vendor account. Correct?
Yes, yes. Correct.
End of the day you are going to concerned about whether you are posting a debit to vendor account or a credit to a vendor account. We will not be focusing on which posting key are we using. Whether I use 31 to 39, anything I am using, there will be a credit balance in vendor account.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yes, yes.
Next one, when you want to identify debit credit based on S and H, this S and H concept is used only in the reporting part, not on the posting part. So whenever you are posting any accounting entry, we normally do not use this S and H concept. This is used in the reporting part. In the reporting, what you need to know, whether you need to identify whether there is a debit posting in the account or there is a credit posting. Correct?
Yes.
For us to identify if there is a debit posting, if there is a credit posting, I am not going to look at posting keys because there are so many posting keys. There are so many posting keys. I will get into unnecessary confusion if I am trying to understand a debit credit based on the posting key. Instead, what I am going to do, I am going to filter based on the debit credit indicator. From the front end point of view, it is your debit and credit. From the back end, from the technical point of view, it is your S and H. It is your S and H. S is a debit, H is a credit. These points we will be talking about, we will be understanding when we actually start posting the documents in SAP.
Okay. Oh,
Clear?
yes, yes.
All right. Any other questions on this debit credit posting keys? This accounting entries in short.
Sir, I have a question regarding for posting key. Uh, Sir, as you clearly suggested us that we need to be use a standard two-digit posting key. My question is there any kind of a probability that we can customize the posting key, or if yes, then on which, like what are the consequences or what are the requirement to create post customized posting key?
First of all, when you wanted to customize a posting key, we need to understand on what basis we want to differentiate the posting key, because in most of the cases there will be no requirement to customize a posting key, because at the end of the day everybody is focused on whether you are posting a debit or you are posting a credit. Correct? So irrespective of the posting key that I am using, whether I use 1 to 9 or 11 to 19, I am end of the day going to hit a debit to my customer account or I am going to hit a credit to my customer account. Agree?
Yes, sir.
So whatever the posting key I am going to use or I am going to customize, is there any difference in my accounting or in my customer account? Either I need to
No.
impact a debit or I need to impact a credit. So even though if you customize a posting key, there is no point of any purpose, but one point that you can identify or the segregate is you can put a different field status at that posting key level. Like certain fields are enabled only when you use a specific posting key. This thing again you will be understanding when we are on the posting of a GL transaction on our company code.
Okay, sir. Okay, fair enough.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? All right. So next one, again account types only. Now we will be using this term frequently, but in different context, in different meanings. Now whatever the account type that I have written, we have written GL, customer, vendor, fixed asset. How GL is identified? Now this time account type is a single digit alphabet. This time your account type is a single digit alphabet. How you are going to differentiate GL?
Present S.
GL is represented with S. What about customer?
Customer D.
D.
Customer is D. Vendor is
K.
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 fixed asset is
A.
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 this is A. Now when you talk about G, you're talking about, sorry, when you're talking about S, you're representing GL account. When you're talking about D, you're representing customer. D, always remember debtor. D is debtor, you're going to put D. Vendor is K, K represents creditor. Creditor is K vendor, debtor is D customer, asset is A. So asset, customer, vendor is easy to identify. D for debtor, D for customer. K for creditor, K for vendor, A for asset, in short fixed asset. Now S is representing the GL account. This S is part of which module? Is this main ledger or sub ledger?
Main ledger.
Main.
Main
This I
ledger.
will say main ledger. This one
Subledger.
Sub ledger.
Subledger.
vendor is
This is
also
also
sub ledger.
Sub
Fixed
ledger.
asset is
Sub
also a
ledger.
sub ledger. Now you have something called financial statements. When you're talking about financial statements, you're talking about
Hello,
month-end
sir.
reports.
Sorry, sir. I have a question. Sorry to
Go
interrupt.
ahead.
I think I would have missed it. What is main ledger and sub ledger, sir? I don't really understand.
Yeah, that is what we are going to discuss now.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to
I
explain
thought
the
we
same
would
thing.
have. I thought we have already discussed. Okay.
No, I've not discussed. So I'm going to connect these points to a practical example so that you will be able
Okay.
to relate it practically.
Okay.
Okay. Now, at the end of every month, we need to prepare something called a financial statement. Whenever you're calling a financial statement, you are clearly representing three reports. What are those three reports which are mandatory to be prepared at the end of every month?
Trial
balance
Trial
balance.
sheet.
balance,
Balance sheet and
P&L,
PL.
and balance sheet.
Trial balance, P&L, balance sheet. Now, whenever you're talking about trial balance, P&L, balance sheet, your trial balance is prepared from main ledger, P&L is prepared from main ledger, balance sheet is also prepared from main ledger. Is this correct?
Yes, sir.
I am going to generate a trial balance from main ledger. I am going to prepare P&L from main ledger. I am going to prepare my balance sheet from main ledger. Nowhere I am going to use my sub ledger during my financial reports. Is this correct or wrong?
Correct.
It's correct.
correct.
This is correct. Now, sub ledger is always connected to main ledger via reconciliation GL accounts. Is this statement correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Subledger is always connected to main ledger via reconciliation GL account. In short, whatever you are posting in subledger, these things will automatically reflect immediately on the main ledger. For example, if I try to show one entry here, what company code I'm using and all, you ignore it. I'm going to take posting key 40. What is posting key 40?
Debit.
Debit.
Posting key 40 is debit.
Debit.
Debit of what?
GL.
GL.
Real account.
GL.
GL.
GL is which ledger?
Main ledger.
Bill.
Main
Main
ledger.
ledger. So I'll take any one GL account. When I put this top, you are able to find something called GL account here.
Yes, sir.
Here you are able to see the GL account. Now focus again. Is this talking about any account or this is just account?
Just account.
This is just account. Now this account, whether it is GL, customer, vendor or fixed asset, is based on your posting key. Okay, it's based on posting key. It's echoing. I think somebody will have to mute. This account, whether it is GL, customer, vendor or fixed asset, is always based on posting key. Here I am giving a posting key 40. According to us, posting key 40 and posting key 50 is a GL account. Whether you are debiting, crediting, keep it aside first. First, let's try to understand the nature of account. 40 and 50 is representing a GL account. I'll put this, I'll select the respective GL account. Based on posting key 40, in the next screen, this account will become a GL account. In the next screen, you will find this as a GL account, correct? Based on the posting key that I have used 40 debit entry to the GL account. Let me take any amount. Next one, I am going to take a posting key called 31. So anything which is starting from 21 or anything which is starting from 31. In short, 2 series, 3 series is a vendor related. 2 series, 3 series is a vendor related posting key. Let me select any one vendor account here. Here also this is just an account. Based on the posting key, system is going to understand that this account is a vendor account. Let me hit enter. If I hit enter, you are able to find something called vendor here. Here it is giving you vendor. Immediately on the same screen, right side, there is something called GL account. Because this is a subledger, any subledger must be connected to a main ledger via reconciliation GL account. This is called your vendor account. Vendor account is a subledger account. Any subledger account that you are posting must have a reconciliation account called as GL account. So this vendor account will be updated in this GL account. In short, any transaction, any accounting that you are posting, any transaction, any accounting that you are posting, that will update GL account as a mandatory. When you're talking about GL account, you are representing a main ledger. Okay, entry whatever is getting updated in this account, in this GL account, is called as main ledger updation. Any entry that is updating your vendor account or customer account or fixed asset is called as sub ledger posting. Correct? If you post any entry to vendor, if you post any entry to customer, if you post any entry to fixed asset, system is going to update two accounts. One is a sub ledger account, the other one is main ledger account at the same entry itself. If you look at this, the moment I gave the vendor account, automatically system is bringing the GL account. Correct? What it is doing, whenever you pass any entry, by default, your sub ledger and main ledger both are updated on the debit and credit side. With this statement, when you prepare a trial balance, P&L or balance sheet, by default, system is going to have all the transactions in the main ledger, including sub ledger or not.
Yes,
Correct?
it's gonna have. Yes.
Because I am hitting a vendor account here. This vendor account is automatically updating a GL account here. So this vendor, I call it as a subledger. Subledger is automatically updates, or subledger will have immediate reflection in the main ledger. If there is no main ledger, there is no possibility of passing an entry in subledger. Subledger is used for detailed reporting purpose. If you're talking about vendor, if you're talking about customer, or if you're talking about fixed asset, you need to get the report at the respective master level. If I'm talking about purchase, I need to be able to produce the report or data from the respective vendor on what date I purchased it, at what rate I purchased it, when I paid this. So I need the detailed breakup of all my transactions that I did with a particular vendor. Similarly, all the transactions that I did with a particular customer, all the transactions that I did with a particular asset. For me to enable all this kind of a detailed analysis, detailed report from the GL level, it is not possible for us to capture this. So that is why you will be using something called subledger, wherein at the individual master level, if you're talking about vendor, at vendor level you can track everything. If you're talking about customer, at customer level you can track everything. If you're talking about asset, at respective asset level you can track everything, the complete detailed history of each and every transaction related to the respective master you can track using subledger accounting. But all the subledger accountings will be mapped in your main ledger accounting. Clear? In short, whenever you saw something called balance sheet, when you saw the balance sheet in your liabilities and on your assets, on your liabilities you must have heard something called sundry creditors. On the asset you must have heard something called sundry debtors. Correct? Anybody heard these terms as it is?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Right? When you talk about sundry creditors, this is multiple vendors, this is multiple customers. Sundry debtors means multiple vendor, sundry debtor means multiple customer. If I am talking about sundry creditor or multiple vendor, I want to know the detailed breakup. If I say that my sundry creditor value is 1000, 1000 is my liability to the creditor, who are those creditors to whom we need to pay? Then I may have to open a list and then I'll have to tell Mr. A I need to pay 100, to Mr. B I need to pay 200, like this. To Mr. H I need to pay 300. Correct? I need to tell that these are the people to whom we are owing money or to whom we need to pay 1000. Now I may ask why you need to pay 100 to Mr. A. What did you purchase? Now am I able to open and then show what was purchased? Yes or no? I must be in a position to open this Mr. A account and then tell what we purchased and why we need to pay 100. For this to happen, there is no other option. You need to create subledger accounting. Similarly, for customer, if you're talking about customer, let's say we need to receive 1000 here. Same thing. Let's say Mr. M, Mr. N, I'll say Mr. L. I'll say 200 here, 500 here, 300 here. Now, if somebody is asking why you need to receive 300 from Mr. L, then I need to tell to Mr. L, I have sold something. When did you sell? What did you sell? Did he pay on it? What are the payment terms? If I want to get the detailed track or the detailed listing of my transaction, I must drill down to the subledger accounting. Using the subledger accounting, I can access the end transaction or the respective transaction at customer level. But in my balance sheet, I am not supposed to represent all these numbers or all the names from whom I need to receive the money or to whom I need to pay the money. Instead, I am going to simply put sundry debtors, sundry creditors, breakup of your sundry debtor, breakup of your sundry creditor. In short, accounts payable, accounts receivable, or customer vendor balances are extracted from subledger accounting. These are extracted from subledger accounting. In the next session, I will be talking about the nature of entries, nature of transactions that we will be passing in each of the accounts. In customer, what kind of entries we will be passing, why we will be passing, how we will be passing, how different kind of reports are executed from the vendor customer GL, fixed asset, we will be talking in the upcoming sessions, so that you will have a clear understanding about what is the main ledger, what is the sub ledger, why we are using this, what kind of entries are posted, how the reports are generated. so that it will be easy for us to understand why we are doing what we are doing and what is the end purpose of doing all these things. First of all, why are we discussing all this accounting? Instead of talking about SAP, we are going to understand in detail in the upcoming sessions. Clear? Because now we are trying to connect the dots. We're trying to connect the dots that are connected, that are straight away dependent on the SAP FICO. So in short, when we are talking about financial statement, your financial statements are always prepared from main ledger account, not from the sub ledger. You are going to prepare the trial balance at GL account level. You are going to prepare the trial balance at GL account level. GL account is always main ledger. Your main ledger always contains a sub ledger balance. Is that right? Main ledger always contains sub ledger balance. Yes or no?
Sir, actually,
Yes.
theoretically, we understood all these details. Hello?
Yes. Yeah, go
But
ahead.
I think until we get into the, I mean, practical, I mean, I'm particularly, I don't understand.
Correct.
Yeah, you explained all the while sub ledger and main ledger,
Because
understood. But in SAP terms, I'm yet to, I mean, I'm yet to understand what is main ledger, how it works, and all right. And again, what
correct.
is S, D, K, why, where we are using and all. I need to know all these details.
Right. So the purpose why we are talking about all this is to make sure when you're on SAP, you are able to understand points clearly there.
Yeah.
If we are not aware of what is what here theoretically from the basic accounting point of view, we will not be able to relate basic accounting into SAP. Otherwise, there
Yeah.
will be a big question marks for every point. When I say
Yeah.
GL account is S, this is how it is used in SAP. You blindly by heart S in SAP. So there you are going to get into unnecessary confusion. It will be a big mystery in your mind. Why it is S, why not Y? Correct?
Yes. Yes.
On what basis
Exactly.
S is designed, or on what basis the K or anything is designed. Majoritarily, these naming conventions, whatever you see, are more or less correlated to your German language.
Okay.
Majoritarily, all the shortcuts, whatever you have, are representing the German language descriptions.
Okay.
Okay, so when we are on
Sir.
SAP, I am going to explain everything in detail. I will come back to this screen, the same Excel sheet. I will scroll up, I will show all these things. All these things I will connect on SAP, I will explain once again.
Sure, sir. Thank you,
Because we
sir.
are now seeing only one side of the accounting. Once we are on SAP, I will connect each and every point that is there on your Excel sheet with SAP setting.
Sure, sir.
Okay.
Sir, but all the GL sheets not main ledger, right? We are not
Every
connecting
GL
all the
account is a
ledgers
main
to,
ledger.
but but all the GLs we are not connecting to reconciliation account, right?
If it is a sub ledger, then it is. So here we have, that is why we have written sub ledger is always connected to main ledger. So if it is GL account alone, it is by default main ledger. Because we understood financial statements are prepared from main ledger, correct?
Yeah.
So for you to prepare the financial statement, you need to make sure GL account balances are taken. If I am taking only
Okay.
the GL account balances, considering the four account types here, what about my customer balances, vendor balance, fixed asset balance? System will have to take your customer, vendor, fixed asset balance also inside the GL account. How system is going to take your customer, vendor, GL, customer, vendor, and fixed asset balances? It is going to take based on the reconciliation GL account.
Okay. And
Okay, whenever you
what
talk
we
about,
call, mhm.
go ahead.
What is the SDKS or is this account types or document types?
This is account type. Document type is a 2-digit. This is account type.
Okay. Okay. Can you scroll down, sir? I have small doubt.
Down or up?
Down. Here you mentioned sundry creditors, sundry debtors, right? This is the main ledger.
This is the main ledger.
And below multiple vendor, multiple creditors, these are all sub ledger, right?
Sub ledger, correct.
So these sundry debtors is the reconciliation account?
Correct.
Oh, fine. Okay, understood.
Clear?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
Sir, we are not talking about bank related GLs here.
Here we are only talking about GL as a whole. So whatever you are writing as cash, it is the same for any account, whether it is a P&L account or it is a balance sheet account. The account name will get changed, amount will get changed, but the way that you are debiting, the way that you are crediting is the same.
Okay. Oh,
Okay,
fine.
just for easy identification to avoid any further confusions, I am taking cash everywhere. If you understand why you are debiting, why you are crediting cash, whether it is any kind of GL account, whether it is a P&L account or any balance sheet account, apart from customer vendor fixed asset, the same logic that you have used for GL is used 100% no change.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. No. I'm thinking related to house bank related. So that is the reason I asked.
No.
House
We are
bank
not talking
related
about
GLs.
anything related to SAP postings as of now, because we need to
Oh,
discuss about different points before we reach the posting in SAP.
yeah, got it, sir.
Yeah. All right, clear, right? Whatever we have discussed, the GL account type, main ledger, sub ledger, your financial statements are prepared from main ledger alone.
Clear.
All right. So in the next session, which means in the tomorrow's session, we will be talking about what kind of entries you are going to pass in GL, what kind of entries you are going to pass in customer vendor fixed asset, what kind of master data you are going to create, what kind of reports we are going to extract, so that you will have a fair understanding about GL. When you're talking about GL, what exactly we mean by GL, what we are going to do in GL. Similarly, customer, what do we mean by customer? What do you mean by accounts receivable? What kind of entries are posted? What kind of reports are extracted? Similarly, vendor, in short, accounts payable, what kind of entries are posted? What kind of reports are extracted? Similarly, fixed asset, what kind of entries are posted in fixed asset, what kind of reports are extracted, so that you will have a fair understanding about why we are talking about main ledger, sub ledger specifically, why these are connected to reconciliation account, why your financial statements are prepared only from main ledger, why not from sub ledger. All these confusions, clarifications will be clarified with practical examples in the tomorrow's session. Okay.
Actually, sir, I
Okay, sir.
got some information. Hello.
Yes. Yeah, go
I
ahead.
got some information from my relatives. I want to just confirm with you. Is getting SAP certification after this course to get into a job, is it mandatory and will it cost too much?
Getting certification of SAP is not mandatory in the current market. In the current situation, getting certification on SAP is not required, because everybody knows those who pass this SAP certification is based on the dump. In the market, you will get questions with answers for, let's say, around 3000 INR or 5000 INR with 100% pass guarantee. You can even get those dumps for free of cost in the LinkedIn or in the different websites of Google. If you wanted to write the certification, there are two ways. Point number one, you have single attempt certification. Point number two, you have 6 attempt certification. If you are trying to opt for one attempt or single attempt, it will cost somewhere around 20,000 INR, wherein you will have to write the certification in one attempt. If you pass, you get the certificate. If you do not pass, you have to pay again the amount and then again get certified. This is ideally not recommended. If you wanted to go for certification, you need to go for 6 attempt certification, which will cost approximately around 45,000 plus taxes. And there, if you are able to clear your certification within one attempt, you are left with 5 more attempts. For the 5 more attempts, you can write 5 different certifications. Let's say first attempt you have written SAP FI 2021. In the second attempt, for the second certification attempt, you can write SAP controlling or SAP funds management, different other module certifications you can write, but practically not recommended, not required. Not required to spend money on certification in the present situation, because that is not a showstopper. Nobody will reject you because you have no certification, because
Because just
everybody knows.
I came to know that every resume they are asking for certification compulsory.
No, if you are trying as a fresher, then that may add some value, but if you are going as an experienced candidate, not required.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, people use it only to filter out. They might say that we are looking only for certified consultants, so that those who are not certified will not be applying for those jobs.
Yes.
It is used as filtering criteria, but not selection criteria.
If we keep from the market what you said, will they get identified that as they kept as this?
No, it depends on how you are going. So you need to have clear understanding, you need to have clear strategies. Everything will have to be properly verified, guided, which I am going to provide. How you are going to talk, because it's not about the documentation that you get caught. It's from the way that you talk, you will be caught. The way you talk will reveal that you have an experience or you do not have the proper or genuine experience. It's not from the document that we will get caught. It's based on the way that we talk, we will get caught. Documentation is always a secondary. The way we talk will reveal that what kind of knowledge that we have, whether we are talking like an experienced candidate or a trained candidate.
Okay.
Okay, so we need to talk something different. Go
We
ahead.
don't need to worry about any background verifications.
So these points I will be talking in the upcoming sessions. Maybe in your overview sessions, these topics will come. I'll explain in detail about the job opportunities for fresher consultants, the job opportunities for experienced consultants. If you go as fresher, what will happen in the market? If you go as an experienced, what will happen in the market? How you are going to see your counterparts, which means how you are going to see your competitors in the market, and how you need to compare, how you need to validate different things right from your resume until the documentation, until the way that you talk. All these points we will be talking in detail in the upcoming sessions, which are part of your overview sessions.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, AJ, I have a question. Is cash not a balance sheet entry or item, or bank? Is it not a balance sheet entry?
Both are balance sheet entries.
So, why did we, when we were working on the GL, we put it on profit and loss for
Where did I
cash?
put?
For cash.
No. This you don't read from here. Here I did not mention any account. So these are separate. These are separate. So don't look at this. Look at only this.
Okay.
Okay. So those are not connected. That is why I did not put any values. I did not put anything with figures.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. If there are no questions, we will connect tomorrow at the same time with the same link.
Sir, are you going to send this